episode 13 of Carrots and Cosmos. Later on we'll be seeing how Jazz is getting on. But first I thought I would share with you some tips on how to grow show onions, courtesy of my grandfather, who I never ever met. He died a few years before I was born. If he was alive today, I don't know how old he'd be. He'd probably be, I'm going to guess, 110. Something like that, maybe even older. So I don't know when this was written. My mum gave me this. You can see his nice handwriting there. But he was a farmer and he loved growing veg. So my mum was delighted because she said he'd be really chuffed if he knew that his granddaughter was getting into all this. And then she found this excerpt. I don't know what it's from. It looks like it's from some kind of part of something else, but because it starts with a but. There's a couple of words I can't read, and I think one of them might be a Norfolkism, which I wouldn't know what it meant anyway. So where I don't know the word, I'll just say blank. But so here's how my granddad would have grown show onions, okay? Back in 1940, 1950. Okay, here we go. But it is the class for onions that brings out the keenest competition in most shows. For example, rightly or wrongly, this is what we discovered. I think that's what it says. Selecting the lightest and sunniest spot in the garden, we trenched it in the autumn, well mixing plenty of well-rotted manure into the bottom spits, leaving the soil surface rough all winter. A fortnight before Christmas, we sent away for the onion seeds, a selected strain of Isla Crag that has won numerous awards up and down the country. On a snowy evening just after Christmas, we spread out the seeds in a white sheet of paper on a table under the light. With the point of a penknife, we picked out 150 of the plumpest of these seeds and kept them separate. Next morning we sowed the selected seeds evenly in a tray of John Innes No. 1 and covered the tray with glass and brown paper and put in a slightly heated greenhouse. As soon as the little green staples appeared, we placed the tray near the glass, having removed the sheet of glass and paper. When the little plants were about 3 inches tall, we selected 100 of the most promising and potted them singly in small peat pots using John Innes No. 2. Now I think it says casseted them, so we'll say, connected them? We blanked them along, and as the season advanced, gave more and more air. In early April, we gave the onion bed a dressing of lime and combed the surface fine, heading it firmly at the same time. We placed cloches over enough of the bed to plant out 50 of the most promising seedlings. When the soil had warmed up a bit, we carefully planted out the 50 seedlings a foot apart and pulled off the top of the peat pots that stood up above the surface. After a week or so, the cloches had to be removed and the plants were now growing strongly. We never hoed these plants, but hand-weeded them, and in early May gave them some Grow More Growing slower. Anyway, a dozen of the most promising plants were selected and singed, 3-foot canes, and a cage made with soft string to keep the leaves perpendicular. So his hand must have got tired near the end of that because I couldn't read some of it, but that's how my granddad grew show onions. So out of 150, sounds like he ended up with 50, and they sound like they were really carefully nurtured. Sounds like a lot of trouble. It's quite interesting trying to imagine him doing that in the olden days. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's see what Jazz has been up to this week. Jazz, are you winning?
I'm winning with some things, Jem. How lovely to get an insight into how your granddad did things. Well, it's been lovely weather this week and we've been busy in the garden, so come on, let me show you.
We're just putting the canes across the top, just to stabilise it a bit, because it was blowing a little bit in the wind, sort of that way. So put those two at the top, just to give it a bit of anchorage. We are going to tie them on there, of course, we're not just going to sit them on the top.
The close attention, the centralisation and focus, the single-minded absorption in the task at hand.
So this morning we've also had time to do the P&B netting. This is going to be for the Monge too, so we've just got 2 lines of it going along there, and then we've done up the sides. We've left a little excess there so we can do the sides up to stop the cats getting on there, because we don't want that. We've only had 3 Monge 2 plants come up so far, so unless some of the others make a show soon, we're just going to have to sow some direct and hope for the best. So there's the last bed finally done. So we've turned it round. It was facing this way, and we've added an extra layer onto this third bit. There's an extra metre onto there, and then it's sort of been pushed up this way. So now we've got a nice row of beds all coming this way, just to make the most of the space, and some paths in between. We're kind of working on the path still. That's something to, maybe for next year we'll get those properly finished.
Biscuits. Mice. Lacy.
Kath's just levelling this ground out now, because that's where we're going to put all the potatoes, the ones in bags, out there. It's the only place really we can put them, because it's the only place that can get enough sun. But the problem is with that, over here is where we're going to grow the tomatoes, where these trugs are here. We're going to grow them up the shed kind of thing. Or cucumbers, we could put the cucumbers up there maybe instead, to try and keep them away from the potatoes, because we don't want to spread blight around if anything happens like that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Looks pretty in this corner now, the spring's out.
I don't know if you remember in episode 2 when I was sowing my tulips late and I was worrying that none of them would come up, but right now they're making me very happy. Here's a quick look.
So pretty inside. I love tulips. So these are my Julie Drake potatoes, well, my Sarpomira potatoes for the Julie Drake challenge. We just call this plant Julie now. And these are the other potatoes, all looking really healthy. So with these 4 potatoes here that were part of my experiment to see what was best, perlite, vermiculite or whatever, those 2 down there are not as good as these 2 up here. And this is the one that had no perlite or vermiculite, but this one here had, where is it? There's the label. Oh yeah, this one here is the vermiculite one. And then this one here was perlite. And then that one down there is vermiculite and perlite. And then these are some leeks that I potted on. They're not going to stay in there. And we'll plant them in the roots bed. I'm doing the roots and the onions together to try and avoid carrot fly and onion fly. And I sowed some more leeks in here, but they've not come up yet. That one you can see up there, that's just one that was an extra that was supposed to go in this pot, but there wasn't enough space. We've got all of our potatoes out of the plastic greenhouse and the conservatory, so that's what we're looking at. I think we might have gone a bit overboard, really. It's quite clear with these ones which ones have been grown in the house and which ones have been grown outside. So the tall spindly ones with no leaves, they've all been started off in the conservatory, but they're these ones all along there, they've all been the conservatory, and it's not been very light in there really. And then these ones haven't, mind you, these ones were put in before the other ones, so you've got to consider that as well, but they weren't as spindly as these ones. These ones are kind of just mainly stem and then a few little leaves on top. There's one up in the corner, actually, I'll show you. There's one up in that corner that's all stem and hardly any leaves at all. Here it is, it's all stem and then no leaves. It's a Maris Piper. And there's these little spindly ones there. But if you compare them to these ones that were planted at the same time, these are Charlottes. Big difference. So we're just going to harvest some spring onions. Got some good roots on them, that's good.
They look healthy, don't they?
Hooray!
Oh yeah, good size. That on these too.
Yeah. Yum.
Wow, great.
It was a snail that filled me with rage. It was a snail that rattled my cage. Oh, he ate all my seeds and slithered away. But I found him by following his slippery trail.
Slug Central. So we need to take action on slugs before things get too bad. This is a kind of a good time of year for this kind of thing, which is nemaslug. It's nematodes, which are a natural organic way of getting rid of your slugs. Slugs, your days are numbered. But it's always good to have a cup of tea before going to battle. So because these are living things, it's very important to put them on your garden as soon as you can after them arriving, because they have to be sent from the place straight away. So we've had these in the fridge overnight, and the first thing we've got to do is separate them into eighths, and then each one of those eighth pieces gets mixed into a 8-litre watering can. So I've just separated these into eighths. It's only rough, but you get the idea. And then I'm going to scoop them out in eighths with this spoon. And I'm going to add that to the watering can. And there's a bit more. I'm going to make sure I get all the bits from this eighth bit. And then you just have to stir it really, really well.
Mix, mix, mixy mix. You gotta learn to mix right, mix right, mix right, mix, mix, mixy mix, yeah.
Working very well.
So we're starting off with the pots, because slugs lurk in all these sorts of places. So we're also doing the grass. It's best to use rows with bigger holes, because ours keeps clogging up because it's quite a fine rose and the bits clog it. So Kath's just making the holes bigger in the rows. See if we can clear the blockage problem. That's working much better. We're trying to get every single bit, anywhere that there's a possibility of slugs. So on the grass, in the beds, in the pots. Before we go, I'd just like to say a couple of things. The first thing is a massive thank you to Terry King. We've been subscribed to him for quite a while now, and it was a really lovely surprise to click on one of his videos the other day and see a shout out for our channel. So thank you so much for that, Terry. It really means a lot to us. So if you're not already subscribed to Terry's channel, I'll leave the links below. You have to go and check it out. He's a really nice guy and you'll definitely learn something from him. He's so full of knowledge. He does all sorts of experiments and everything, so go and check him out. The second thing is we have a Twitter account now, so if you are on Twitter, come and say hello. I think it's just search for Carrots and Cosmos. I think we're under Carrots and Cosmo, but it should come out. We run out of letters. So thank you all so much for watching. Please like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Until next time.